Today, 600,000 plus a bit of the Russian contingent is on the territory of our state. Yes, maybe a little less, depending on how our guys work today. As for the Ukrainian army, today it is 880,000.
If Donald Trump recognizes that Ukraine's victory in the fight against Russian aggression is in the interests of the United States and provides Kyiv with all the assistance it needs, Russia will collapse within a year. However, even in this scenario, Ukraine will need reliable protection against a possible repeat Russian attack. This was stated by the former commander of the U.S. Army in Europe, retired General Ben Hodges. Hodges took part in a virtual discussion within the framework of the European Policy Center on the topic, 2025 is a decisive year for Ukraine. He answered a question from the publication's correspondent about the likely actions of the new White House team to end the war in Ukraine. I cannot predict what President Trump will do, but I think he may realize how weak Putin is and how terrible the situation in the Russian economy is. If he does, then, in the interest of deterring China, I hope he can help Ukraine defeat Russia, the general said. At the same time, Ben Hodges reminded that Ukraine, due to its geographical location, will continue to be at the center of events. In view of this, the general emphasized that the issue of protecting Ukraine from possible new aggressions by Russia could be considered only after it joins NATO, or if a significant Western military contingent is deployed on Ukrainian territory. If Ukraine is in NATO, or has a strong American or European presence on its territory, then it may be in a stronger position. The most important step for the U.S. president would be to declare that Ukraine's victory over Russia is in America's interest, and we will do whatever it takes to help Ukraine win. If he does that, Russia will collapse within a year, Hodges summarized. Earlier, Trump said that he plans to meet with Putin as soon as possible, and is sure that he is also waiting for a meeting because the war has not gone very well for him. However, this meeting can only take place after Trump's inauguration on January 20th. Donald Trump's former special envoy to Ukraine and Russia, Kurt Volker, said that the president-elect will try to end the war in Ukraine as soon as possible and as fairly as possible for Kyiv. According to him, Trump and his entourage agree that Ukraine needs to demonstrate a position of strength. To do this, it is necessary to continue to provide weapons to Kyiv. The future head of the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth, assured that Donald Trump wants to achieve a peace that is beneficial to Ukraine. According to him, it is clear to everyone in the Russian-Ukrainian war who the aggressor is.
Is this code for we're going to abandon Ukraine?
Australia is prepared to take the strongest action possible, including the potential expulsion of the Russian ambassador if reports are confirmed that an Australian citizen was murdered after being captured by Russian forces, Reuters reported. Oscar Jenkins, a teacher from Melbourne, was captured by Russian troops last December while fighting alongside the armed forces of Ukraine. Video footage from the time shows him in military uniform, speaking in both English and Ukrainian, confirming his name and nationality, and being asked if he was a mercenary. In the footage, his Russian captors filmed themselves punching Jenkins. On Tuesday, 7 News reported that according to its sources, the body of the 32-year-old had been found. News of the possible death of the Australian volunteer has sparked outrage in Australia. Australian media reported that the government were seeking comment from the Kremlin on reports that Jenkins had been murdered while in Russian captivity. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese called any harm inflicted on Jenkins absolutely reprehensible. As 7 News reported, the Australian government is making urgent inquiries, even confirming on Monday that the Russian ambassador was summoned to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade to seek information and reiterate Australia's expectations that Russia will comply with its obligations under international law. We stand with Ukraine in its fight for sovereignty and territorial integrity, and we will continue to do so, Albanese said. Australian officials indicated that they're coordinating with Kyiv to investigate the circumstances surrounding Jenkins' reported death. International humanitarian law protects soldiers taken as prisoners of war. The Third Geneva Convention states that all prisoners of war must be treated humanely and protected from acts of violence or intimidation. Russia labels foreign volunteer fighters as mercenaries and claims they are not entitled to protection under the Geneva Conventions. International humanitarian law also establishes minimum conditions of detention, including standards for accommodation, food, clothing, hygiene, and medical care. At least 7 Australians are believed to have died fighting in Ukraine since Russia's full-scale invasion began in 2022. However, Jenkins is thought to be the first Australian captured and held as a prisoner of war. If he was killed while in Russian custody, Jenkins would be the first Australian POW to be executed since the Second World War. Russian contingent in Ukraine numbers 600,000 soldiers. Ukrainian army, 880,000, revealed President Zelensky. Zelensky added that 880,000 warriors protect the entire territory of Ukraine, while Russian troops are concentrated in certain directions, so they have a numerical advantage there.
No matter how things turn out, even after the war, we must understand who we are dealing with. You know, today, 600,000 plus a bit of the Russian contingent is on the territory of our state. Yes, maybe a little less, depending on how our guys work today. As for the Ukrainian army, today it is 880,000, but we need 820,000 to defend this territory. Russian troops are concentrated in certain directions, and therefore, in some directions, they have a numerical advantage.
Russians are becoming worried about the freezing of their bank deposits as inflation in Russia keeps growing. Russian authorities deny it, which makes Russians even more anxious. Rumors that the government might limit the ability to withdraw savings have been circulating for several months. The supposed rationale for freezing these assets is that when the interest rate is finally lowered by the central bank, there will be a bank run with mass withdrawals of deposits, and the inflation will skyrocket. This could be a heavy blow for the already struggling Russian economy. Whether that is actually true doesn't matter. Russians who have deposits are getting increasingly pessimistic. About 26% of Russians are concerned about the potential freeze. This is almost the total number of Russians who actually have bank deposits, about 30%. The central bank and other Russian authorities called the rumors nonsense. But Russians know very well that the stronger authorities deny something, the more likely it is to actually happen. Take the invasion of Ukraine, mobilization, interest rate hike.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.